expectations are to put a team on the field Saturday that has a chance to win every game. We fell short this year one time. We don't ever want to finish second, and I think we've had this discussion, so I may be repeating myself. But if the players work hard during the week and the coaches have prepared them and we play hard Saturday and we come up short, we're disappointed. But that's all we can ask out of our team. The effort we had against Oklahoma was tremendous. Came up short against a good football team. So if we continue to prepare and play like that, then we've reached our expectations. Ultimately here we want to win a Big 12 championship.
The expectations of Zach, Des, Kendall, and Pettigrew, did those four meet your expectations or exceed your expectations this year, what they were able to do?
I think Zach played very well. I thought Zach played his best game of the year against Oklahoma. People would say we had a couple turnovers. He and the wideouts relationship on the interception that wasn't very good, and the time the guy knocked the ball down from behind him, that happens sometimes when you play quarterback. But the plays that he made during that game were tremendous. So I thought he played very well this year. I don't think there's any question that Des Bryant played tremendous this year. And I think Kendall is a guy that probably doesn't get as much notoriety across the country as he deserves. His yards per carry were a yard more than anybody else in the country, I think. Is that right, Kevin? Close to something. Sound good anyway, something like that. I wouldn't want to trade any of them. And you got Pettigrew that missed basically 5 games. You got an offensive line that's got over 100 and somebody will throw a number at me, 140 games of experience now, right? Something like that. So, and then just expectations defensively. Our defense played better than they did last year. And we expected them to play better. I mean, you look at the numbers, and everybody sees numbers, and they say, yeah, they play a little bit better, but just look at anybody's numbers defensively.
What's your best guess on Russell, whether he stays or goes?
Oh, I think he'll come back.
Put a dollar on it today.
Well, we're not allowed to gamble in the NCAA, so. But I think Russell will come back. I think that he sees the benefits of graduation. Russell's on track to graduate. You know, Brandon Pettigrew came back, and Brandon Pettigrew is, I was told this morning, it's either 3 or 5 hours from graduating. So if he finishes his semester and goes on the NFL or goes in the draft, he's going to leave here with a degree, just like the last 3 guys that left here, which was Savage, Bowman, and Woods. And when you take players and put them in the NFL and they leave here with a degree, you're setting yourself above most of the teams in the country, I think. You guys could check that. But Brandon finishes up and does that. The last 4 guys that left here and went to the NFL all had degrees. That's pretty good. So I think Russell will see that. Russell's very intelligent. He understands the importance of it. He will only move himself up. I don't think anybody knows for sure, but that would be my guess.
So when all these all-conference and all-American lists come out, you've got guys on prominent lists, Des, and all these all Big 12 lists, do you flood your recruits' correspondence with that kind of information?
I think you do some, but you don't really have to. I think these student athletes that are out there looking at schools, they know more about it, and they know when it happens before we do.
What do those honors mean to a program, though? You have guys first team All-American, second team, third team All-American.
When we got back from the Home Depot show, the first thing we told the team is we had one guy that received an honor that was unbelievable, but basically it was a team concept, and we want them to know that. And I know it's individual, but we did some things with our punt this year that really helped Matt overall as a group, and then he finished it up. And obviously Des has to have protection and throws and all that. I know he makes great catches, so I think both of them have to work together. But it's more of an award for your program than it is as an individual. To have 3 guys, well, John tight ends didn't take him there, but essentially 3 guys that were going to be at that Home Depot show. It's the first time I'd ever been there. I expected it to be like a 500-seat auditorium, like when you're in 1,000 level English in college. You walk in there and there's like 1,000 people there. There's only, the room was this big. It's not very many people there, so it's pretty impressive when you sit around and think, wow, man, it's pretty neat that we have 3 guys that potentially could have been in this room.
Maybe a 4th.
What's that? Well, he didn't make it to the numbers, but if it was John Mackey, is that what it's called? If they would have taken their candidates there, then we would have had 3 there.
Mike, what did it mean to you, the commitment this university, your alma mater, made to you with your new contract?
Well, my family and I personally want to be here, and we've made that known for the last 4 years. And so I think that it shows a commitment to the structure and organization and the goals that we have here, and we're happy to be a part of it. I think it shows a strong commitment to the players that we're recruiting, that if you come to Oklahoma State, that you know your staff's going to be there. And, I'm thankful for it. I've said this from day one, and I don't know that anybody really understands it. I think I have the best job in the country because I'm coaching at a place that I graduated from. I'm close to home. I love being here. It's the best time to be here. We're building new facilities, and I like the players I work with every day. I mean, I'm sure that somebody said, well, that's not as good a job as some other school, but it is to me. There's some headaches here, just like there are at any other school, but to me, this is the best job in the country. And we were glad to be able to get that worked out, and just looking forward to taking it from this point on.
Was it done as quickly as it was in response to maybe some other schools expressing, either discreetly expressing interest in talking to you or actually contacting you?
Oh, I don't think that really is something we have to talk about. I mean, I'm not, I would hate to, I'm not going to give you an answer either way on that. I mean, Kevin's trained me since my incident last year just to say no comment. Works out a lot better. Obviously, the Board of Regents are involved in it, President Hargis and Coach Holder and myself, and we all know Coach Holder that he would like to be able to work and then go off and hide under a rock and not deal with any of it and do what's best. I mean, that's just a fact. Well, I'm the same way. To a certain extent, my wife and I would prefer that what we earn in a living would not be out there in the public's eye, but that's not going to happen. And so we tried to release it at a time that it could move through as discreetly as possible, because ultimately it's not about me. Ultimately it's about the program in Oklahoma State. Yeah, there's no question that it's important. We don't very few homes do we go in recruiting that the family's not going to ask what kind of a commitment do you have to your school and what kind of contract do you have because somebody's told them to ask that. So it does help, but we would prefer that it not be something that's discussed publicly, and we were glad to get it worked out. We think it was fair on both sides. And we wanted to move on.
Was it a negotiated amount, or was it an amount they approached you with, approved of it?
It started with two people just sitting down and tried to figure out what was best and what was fair for the economic situation in this country and this university, and then also for the program, and then myself personally. I don't need a lot. I've told you guys that. I don't require a lot, but to a certain extent, when you work like we do as coaches, then there is a reward. I mean, that's just a fact. And so we just sat down and worked it out, and it ultimately was about a 10-minute conversation.
Really? It got done?
I mean, without just all the little stuff that nobody understands.
Legal pad, and you get it knocked out like that?
Yeah, it was done with a purple flare pen and a yellow notebook.
How much does the personality of the whole kind of group change about it?
I think it could change some just because he was such a high-energy coach. But when I watched the last few days, I thought that Sexton and Ricky and Levine and Ori and some of those guys that have to pick it up, I thought they did a nice job of it, of kind of carrying the load. The other coaches are somewhat high energy. But I think that when Coach Beckman was the coordinator, he's the guy that came forefront. Mm-hmm. And so now the other coaches got to pick it up a little bit. I haven't noticed any drop-off in the intensity of practice. I thought it's been good up to this point.
How much kind of more confident are you in Dan Bailey today than you were on August 1?
I think he's improved, and I think he's more comfortable. I think he's relaxed out there. He's practiced very well the last however many practices we've had, 6 or 7 practices. And I look at that a lot, because we put him in a pressure situation every day, and he's performed well. There's consistency in the snap, there's consistency in the hold, and he's gotten considerably better in the last couple months.
That field goal against OU, 44 yards, his career long, do you sense that was a big confidence boost for him because it was a career long? He hadn't made one from that distance?
It should be, and I think the reason why is because it functioned very well. It was a good snap, a good hold. He was good with his follow through everything and went right down the middle. I mean, it wasn't one of those that just barely made it in there. I mean, everything looked the way you draw it up, and so I think that he's gotten confidence because of that. And we all know that success just breeds more confidence. And as he continues to have some success like that, then he'll get more confident.
3 years ago, you struggled on offense big time, and struggled in every regard 3 years ago. But to get from that point to number 7 in the country, what were in your mind, the top 2 or 3 elements that went into it? I mean, is it as simple as quarterback stability, and then this year having the same running back, the same quarterback, the same wide receiver all year long?
Well, good players first. When you look at the players that we had that were performing that year who were touching the ball, they were great guys, and they gave us their all, but they couldn't perform at the level that some of the guys are now that touch the football. That makes a big difference. Secondly, the system was new to us, and then we tweaked it after the first year, and we added some things and deleted some things and became more of a run, play, pass, drop back, and we mixed some things in, and I think that's helped us. And then now with an established quarterback, it's just added to it.
Are you glad now that you put so much on them that first year with the new offensive plan? I mean, it had to have been, for some of them at least, pretty staggering to get the whole Fedora offense in one spring and one offseason or whatever. But, I mean, that had to accelerate your growth into it eventually, right?
If I did it all over again, I wouldn't have. I'd have put half of it in. I think we'd have performed better. Most of the coaches that are in that building have erased that year from their mind, so we don't talk about it a lot. But if we had to do it all over again, I would have put half the system in and asked them to perform at a higher level and lessen the confusion than what we accomplished. Now, it paid off for us. It made us very multiple, and we can do a lot of different things now because the players understand the system. And I think we move faster now because they have a better feel for it, but I think it really hurt us in that first year.
Does Larry call for any advice on Troy?
Yeah.
Larry just wants to know who in the department he has to buy Christmas presents for now that he's the head coach. He calls and asks questions like that. I think that I would guess that they're on track with offense and all that. You know, he's probably got all that under control.